We've reasserted our power across the Pacific and stood up to China on behalf of our workers. From Burma to Libya to South Sudan, we have advanced the rights and dignity of all human beings. Men and women, Christians and Muslims and Jews.
They didn't have no record of Kennedy's.
But for all the progress that we've made, challenges remain.
Kennedy used to have an address.
Terrorist plots must be disrupted.
When the state
Drug prices must be contained.
Addresses for him.
Our commitment to Israel's security must not waver, and neither must our pursuit of peace. The Iranian government must face a world that stays united against its nuclear ambition. The historic change sweeping across the Arab world must be defined not by the iron fist of a dictator or the hate of extremists, but by the hopes and aspirations of ordinary people who are reaching for the same rights that we celebrate here today. So, now we have a choice. My opponent and his running mate are new to foreign policy. But from all that we've seen and heard, they want to take us back to an era of blustering and blundering that cost America so dearly.
Why do you say that?
After all, you don't call Russia our #1 enemy. Not Al-Qaeda, Russia. Unless you're still stuck in a Cold War
They
mind.
know how to approach me with it. Because I think what they doing when they put you on
You might not be ready for diplomacy with Beijing if you can't visit the Olympics without insulting our closest ally. My opponent said that it was tragic to end the war in Iraq. And he won't tell us how he'll end the war in Afghanistan. Well, I have, and I will. And while my opponent would spend more money on military hardware that our joint chiefs don't even want, I will use the money we're no longer spending on war to pay down our debt and put more people back to work, rebuilding roads and bridges and schools and runways, because after 2 wars that cost us thousands of lives and over $1 trillion, it's time to do some nation building right here at home.
He had this stuff. He knew what he wanted from me, then I know what he was trying to get from me. And when he called me, he come to me that quick. So, you know, Pam's address is 40 people.
You can choose a future where we reduce our deficit without sticking it to the middle class.
And he said, oh, that's what I want. He said, that's what I want.
Independent experts say that my plan would cut our deficit by $4 trillion. And last summer I worked with Republicans in Congress to cut $1 billion in spending, because those of us who believe government can be a force for good should work harder than anyone to reform it, so it's leaner, more efficient, and more responsive to the American people. I want to reform the tax code so that it's simple, fair, and asks the wealthiest households to pay higher taxes on incomes over $250,000. The same rate we had when Bill Clinton was president, the same rate we had when our economy created nearly 23 million new jobs, the biggest surplus in history, and a whole lot of millionaires to boot.
He wanted to know where was 60.
Now, I'm still eager to reach an agreement based on the principles of my bipartisan debt commission. No party has a monopoly on wisdom. No democracy works without compromise. I want to get this done, and we can get it done. But when Governor Romney and his friends in Congress tell us we can somehow lower our deficits by spending trillions more on new tax breaks for the wealthy, well, what Bill Clinton call it, you do the arithmetic. You do the math. I refuse to go along with that. And as long as I'm president, I never will. I refuse to ask middle-class families to give out their deductions for owning a home or raising their kids just to pay for another millionaire's tax cut. I refuse to ask students to pay more for college, or kick children out of Head Start programs to eliminate health insurance for millions of Americans who are poor and elderly or disabled. Also, those with the most can pay less.
40. Mine is 44, and yours
And
is
I will
45.
never,
And
I
he
will
said,
never
"That's
turn
what I
Medicare
want." He
into a
got
voucher.
out there. He felt so sorry. I had to wait till
Get back in the
He
bed.
felt so sorry. I had to
And go to
disturb
sleep.
him.
No American
I'm not sleepy
should
yet.
ever have to spend their
I
golden
said,
years
"Now,
at the mercy of
that man,"
insurance companies.
I said, "That's fine." He said,
They
"He
should
needs to
retire
leave
with the
us
care
somewhere."
and the dignity that they have
And when
earned.
I called Kenny said,
Yes, we will reform and strengthen Medicare for the long haul, but we'll do it by reducing the cost of health care. Not by asking seniors to pay thousands of dollars more. And we will keep the promise of Social Security by taking the responsible steps to strengthen it, not by turning it over to Wall Street. This is the choice we now face. This is what the election comes down to.
Took me about 2 more hours of sleep.
Over and over, we've been told by our opponents that bigger tax cuts and fewer regulations are the only way. But since government can't do everything, it should do almost nothing. If you can't afford health insurance, hope that you don't get sick. If a company releases toxic pollution into the air your children breathe, well, that's the price of progress. If you can't afford to start a business or go to college, take my opponent's advice and borrow money from your parents. You know what? That's not who we are. That's not what this country's about. As Americans, we believe we are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, rights that no man or government can take away. We insist on personal responsibility and we celebrate individual initiative. We're not entitled to success. We have to earn it. We honor the strivers, the dreamers, the risk takers, the entrepreneurs who have always been the driving force behind our free enterprise system, the greatest engine of growth and prosperity that the world's ever known. But we also believe in something called citizenship. Citizenship, a word at the very heart of our founding. A word at the very essence of our democracy. The idea that this country only works when we accept certain obligations to one another and to future generations. We believe that when a CEO pays his auto workers enough to buy the cars that they build, the whole company does better.
See all that gray hair in his head?
We believe that when a family can no longer be tricked into signing a mortgage they can't afford. That family's protected, but so is the value of other people's homes. And so is the entire economy. We believe the little girl who's offered an escape from poverty by a great teacher or a grant for college could become the next Steve Jobs.
I think he
Or the
died
scientist who cures cancer. Or the President of the United States. And it is in our power to give her that chance. We know that churches and charities can often make more of a difference than a poverty program alone. We don't want handouts for people who refuse to help themselves, and we certainly don't want bailouts for banks that break the rules. We don't think the government can solve all of our problems, but we don't think that the government is the source of all of our problems. Any more than our welfare recipients, or corporations, or unions, or immigrants, or gays, or any other group we're told to blame for our troubles. Because America, we understand that this democracy is ours. We, the people, recognize that we have responsibilities as well as rights, that our destinies are bound together, that a freedom which asks only what's in it for me A freedom without a commitment to others, a freedom without love or charity.